Alexei and I are here to introduce this DVD, which is a DVD on basing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. It's very important for everyone who wants to learn Jiu Jitsu or those who already practice it and want to revise the basic techniques. Enjoy the film. Open guard. We are going to show you the initial part of BJJ, which is the position of the open guard. Generally, it often happens that the adversary gets you in his guard, and you really need to learn how to get out of it, otherwise you'll always be thrown down or submitted. So it's a really simple and efficient position that I'm going to show you now. Generally, when you are in your adversary's guard, you need to put your hands on his chest to block him down. Then you grab both sides of the kimono with your stretched arm, with one hand. You don't need to put strength in it. You just have to keep your arm stretched to prevent him from standing up. With your other hand, you grab his crotch. Arms stretched here too. If I start at right hand, I have to raise my right leg. When I raise my left leg, I place it directly behind his hip, so that he can't grab my foot. Notice that both my hands are stretched. Once I'm standing up, I don't need to hold his chest anymore. With that hand, so I come with both hands on the hips. I move the hips and stick him to the ground. Then I raise both hands and catch his trousers at the tibias. Passing the guard with a toriando. I'm now going to show you passing the guard. First, when you're working on passing the guard, you have to control your adversary's legs, which will help you because his work will be stopped. He won't be able to use his legs anymore. So I control both legs and I immediately try passing before he reacts. Let's do it. I control the legs, I put pressure on his legs, I put my legs back, and I immediately cross my legs, move it forward, and release his closest leg. I grab his arm and immediately place my knee on his stomach. I don't let go neither his arm nor his leg. 100-kilogram immobilization. I'm now going to show you the best way to practice the 100-kilogram immobilization. So you're chest to chest with the adversary, one hand under the head, the other in the armpit, palm to palm. You can also use the kimono, but I prefer palm to palm. I push his jaw with my shoulder, both feet on the ground, my leg close to his hips. I stick my knee and I put my hips down as close as possible to the ground. In the 100-kilogram immobilization, you can also bend the other leg, but you're more stable with your leg stretched on the side of your head. Don't forget the pressure on your shoulder, on his jaw. Getting out of the 100-kilogram position and the right positioning when you're underneath. Here's the best position when you're underneath, that your adversary passed your guard and you are stuck. Always keep your hands at neck level to protect yourself from chokeholds or arm locks. Never try to catch your adversary unless you're already well positioned to defend yourself. But if he is on that side, I'm going to protect myself like this. If he's on the other side, I use my other leg. Be careful, that position used by many people is not correct. The right position is when your foot is completely touching the ground, closed with the knee and the elbow to prevent him from going up. So now he is on the 100-kilogram position. I'm going to wait for him to release a bit the pressure to attack, because he can't stand still for more than 20 seconds. Otherwise, he will get a warning. As soon as he releases the pressure a bit, it's the right moment to get out. I push with both my hands to get my hip out, and that space I've created, I place my knee. Once it's in, I can block his hips with my right hand, and I'm going to grab his kimono the farther I can, his back. And I go underneath him until his back is in my guard. Mount position from the 100 kg with the knee under the adversary's armpit. Now I'm going to show you the mount position from the 100 kg position. It is very important to create space in order to mount, because generally when the adversary is underneath, he closes his guard completely with his arms and his legs. So I have to try and create space and control his elbow and his knee, and then I place my knee on his stomach to lift myself up. Look how it works. I'm now in the 100 kg position. I move my hip in order to put my left knee under his elbow, in the armpit. I have to reach his head with my knee in order to lock his arms. Immediately, in that space, I try to put my knee on his stomach. I don't try to put it on the ground. I put my knee in like this until my foot is almost over his hip. So I make a pressure on his legs with my tibia when I'm passing. Until the mount position, I push to the ground. I put my knee forward, both hands on the ground to stabilize my position. Mount position, controlling the wrist and the shoulder of your adversary. I'm now going to show you a mount position in which you completely block one side of your adversary and manage to pull out in an explosive way. The adversary uses his hand to strangle you. I let him put his hand and I block his wrist. I turn my head on the side to make it harder for him to use his other hand to strangle me. I'm gaining time. I grip his kimono at the shoulder so his arm is completely controlled. Be careful, if you do this, you give your hand and you can get locked. So if he uses his right hand, I grip his wrist with my right hand. I grip his shoulder with my left hand. Notice that I use my leg to block his leg on the same side. So his right side is completely blocked. Now, bridging technique to unbalance him forward and rotate on the side. I get the guard, both hands on his chest, and I do the right position, closed guard. Man position by pushing the adversary's knee. What I'm going to show you now is to be used when the adversary is on top position and puts both hands on the ground and he doesn't attack your neck. The details are very important to pull out, and I'm going to show it to you now. It's very efficient. The adversary is on top and puts both his hands on the ground. First, I have to choose my side, the left one for instance. I'm going to put my elbow between my ribs and his leg, his thigh. My other hand tries to get his thigh. I move my hips on the other side, and I create space to hook when my knee is on the outside. Immediately, I do the same thing on the other side. I move my hips, my knee, to put him back in the guard. Mount position from half guard by making pressure on the adversary's chin. I'm now going to show you a position from the half guard. I'm in his half guard, half mount. I'll have to pass his half guard until the mount position. So here he managed to control my leg. I place my hand palm to palm. First thing, I need to put that knee under his armpit. Then I have to grip his kimono and pass it to my hand, which is blocking the head, and put pressure on his chin. Then I grip his pants in the crotch, and I put my foot closer to his hips, his bottom. When my foot is close enough, I use my elbow to open his legs until I created enough space to put my knee on the ground. Logically, the adversary will try to get the guard back by pushing me. I use my arm and put it under his. I open it, still putting pressure on his chin, and use my other leg to open the half guard and end up in mount position. Getting back the guard from half guard by controlling his arm and wrist with a hook. We are now going to show you how to regain half guard when the adversary is in your half guard. It's a very technical position, not really difficult to do, but you have to be careful that your adversary doesn't take advantage of your mistakes and passes the guard or manage to mount. The adversary is in my half guard. First, I have to block his arm and catch his belt. I try not to catch at the top, but at the bottom or on the side. With my other hand, I get his pants at knee level for him not to put the knee under my armpit. Then I put my foot on the ground, I move my hips and I hook him at knee level and block his leg. That hook has to be done over the knee, to the joints. I lean and push on my leg, which is used as a basis, and at the same time I pull the other one, which is at the waist. I'm using my hook to put him back in the guard. Knee on the stomach to end up in a choke hold from 100 kilograms. Alexei and I are now going to show you a strike from 100 kg. It's also an immobilization from 100 kg with a knee on the stomach, a very common position in BJJ. So from 100 kg, in order to attack, I need to move my hand, which is under the head. And I'm going to use my thumb in his collar. With my forearm, I put a pressure on his jaw. With my other hand, I grab his pants in the crotch. I put my forearm inside the leg to create enough space to immobilize him with a knee. I immediately jump with my knee on his stomach. I have to put my knee forward enough. My other leg shouldn't be completely stretched nor flexed. Your leg is half flexed and your foot is on the ground. He is completely stuck in that position with my knee on his stomach. Then I create a space where his jaw is with my forearm in order to get my other hand in, palms to the sky, deep in the collar. When I'm deep down the collar, I close my elbows. I lock and I put pressure to strangle him by using my weight. Getting out of a position, knee on the stomach. I'm now going to show you how to get out of that position, the knee on the stomach. You use it when he puts his knee on your stomach, just right before he gets stabilized. It's not very complicated, but it has to be done at the right moment. I put my head under my adversary's foot on his side, and I try to get his kimono underneath. With the other hand, I grip his wrist for him, not to put his hand on the ground when I will turn him upside down. With my leg, I go under the other leg. Try to keep your other leg's foot right on the ground. I move my leg in the middle and underneath. This unbalances my adversary, who falls on his back. I go on without letting him go, gripping his kimono. Immobilization, north-south position. We are now going to show you North-South immobilization. It's a very common immobilization technique in BJJ. It has different variations. It's very difficult to get out of it. I particularly like to use both legs flexed to immobilize him, but you can't keep one stretched and one flexed, or even both legs stretched. You can also put one elbow in and the other out. It is forbidden to put both hands on his belt at the same time, so I'll have to use one hand at belt level and the other at pants level. How to end a north-south immobilization by rolling up the arms and mounting. I'm now going to show you a submission from the north-south immobilization, when the adversary makes a mistake and tries to grip me with his arms. So the adversary rolls up his arms around me. I let go his belt and put my other hand on the ground to prevent him from turning around and get me in the guard. I roll up his arm and put all my weight on him. I slide my hand under his head. I reach the 100-kilogram position by flexing my other leg. With my other hand, I grip the kimono to get it really tight in my other hand, which is underneath. Now, I'm going to try to mount using the knee position. I mount by using the pressure. To pull his collar, I'm going to place my elbow on the other side of his head by using my own weight, creating a lever and that way manage a choke hold. How to get out of a north-south immobilization. We are now going to show you how to get out of a north-south immobilization. I said it already. When you do that, you have to perform it when the adversary releases the pressure because you don't want to get tired by grappling. It's not the right moment. Otherwise, you have to do it at the very beginning, before his position is stabilized. Pay attention to the details to manage to get out of that position. The adversary has come to the north-south position. I'm going to use my hips to create a bridge. When I put my hips down, I keep the pressure on the forearms to keep the space I've created and put one knee at a time. I block his shoulder with my hand, and I try to get to his wrist. With the strength of my knee, I create more space to put my other knee. I do exactly the same thing. I push him forward with my legs. I end up in mount position to immobilize him, north-south position. Four attacks from the mount position. Chokehold from the mount position. We are now going to show you a chokehold from the mount position. First, you try to control your adversary's collar. I never directly put my hand on his neck, because at that moment he can easily defend himself as I come closer. So I move my hand at plexus level. It's easier there. I'm going to slide my forearm on his chest until my hand is in his collar, still putting pressure with my forearm on his chest. My other hand goes in, with the thumb inside the collar on the other side. It's only at that moment, without spreading the elbows, that I push all the weight with my chest over the adversary's head, by closing the elbows and pulling the wrists towards me. Ezekiel from the mount position. We are now going to show you the chokehold that we call Ezekiel. First, you have to slide your arm under your adversary's head. The other head is used as a basis. You get your hand closer to get your fingers in the sleeve of your own kimono. You're allowed to do that. I put in my three first fingers in the sleeve. I rapidly turn the other hand over his neck and I try to stretch both arms. Americana from the mount position. We are now going to show you the arm lock called Americana. It's an arm lock for which you have to grip with the monkey hand, as they call it in the Jiu Jitsu vocabulary. The thumb is stuck to the other hands. You're going to get the opposite wrist of your adversary to the ground. When his wrist touches the ground, I put my elbow on the ground next to his ear. I make sure that his arm is in 900 degrees position. Then, with the fingers in the same position, I slide my hand under his elbow. I grip my own arm. I let his arm stuck to the ground. I lift his elbow. Be careful not to lift his hand at the same time. I pull it down and I lift his elbow until submission. Arm lock from the mount position. We are now going to show you an arm lock, one of the most famous arm locks in Jiu Jitsu from the mount position. Generally, when the adversary makes a mistake, he tries to push your chest with his arms. So I place one hand between his arms and the other one on the outside. I push with both my hands on his chest. So I'm going to attack his arm. If I want to attack that arm, I first lift the opposite leg. Immediately I try to turn around until my knee is on the ground, next to his head. When I want to do an arm lock, my foot is drawing half a circle. Don't do such things if you are a beginner, it's not right. I'm going to try and draw a nice curve, without lifting my hips until I get to the ground. When I'm on the ground, I have to tighten my knees. Both feet are on the ground. I try to get his thumb, and I try to aim at it to the sky. I grip his wrist with both hands, and his head shouldn't touch the ground, and I put a pressure on his arm until submission, slightly bridging. Arm lock in a close guard. I want to show you now an arm lock in a closed guard. Usually, you use that lock when the adversary is not in a suitable position, when his arms are not completely stretched. So it's the right moment to try the arm lock in the closed guard. I grip his kimono that way. I open my elbow on the side of the arm. With the other arm, I get the opposite shoulder. I place my foot on the side of the arm, but I'm going to attack on his hip. I move the hip. I mount. I stick my hip to his elbow. With my other leg, I slide by putting pressure on his back. Be careful not to cross your feet. With the hand that was on the shoulder, I curl up the arm. And like I did before, on the mount position, I tighten my knees and I lift the hips. Kimura in the closed guard. We are now going to show you the Kimura attack from the closed guard, when the adversary puts both hands on the ground. Still the monkey hand position. I get the wrist with my other hand. I move over the elbow, behind the arm to grip my own wrist, using the same hold, monkey hand. Then I'm going to try to put my back on the ground by opening the guard, and I move my hips on the side of the arm I'm attacking. Then I simply push his wrists towards his head until submission. Four sweeps. Seize a sweep by controlling the adversary's wrist. The adversary is in the closed guard. I'm now going to show you a basic sweep when the adversary is in the closed guard. When he is not in a suitable position, I'm going to use that sweep technique, which is very efficient, and for which you need a little bit of speed. My adversary has both his hands on my hips. So I'm going to grip his sleeves, both feet on the ground. I move my hips, place my tibia on his belly. With my other leg, I pull him in my direction. He's going to put his elbow on the ground, not to fall. At that moment, I hold him differently until I get to full mount position by pulling his arm. by controlling the armpit and the arm.
I'm now going to show you a sweep when the adversary is in my guard and I'm sitting with both hooks inside. My adversary got me, gripping my armpits. I'm going to curl up his arm and grip his belt. With my other hand, I block his arm completely under my armpit. I tried to put my elbow on the ground and I move my hips on the side of the arm I've blocked. I lift my hook. He's trying to defend himself, but it's almost impossible for him. And I end up in a full mount position. Sweep by controlling the opposite wrist in a closed guard. I'm now going to show you another sweep from the closed guard, when the adversary is trying to get a right posture or when he is not in a suitable position. It's slightly different. The adversary places one hand on the chest, the other is at the groin level, but the hand in the front is slightly flexed, that is to say, in an unsuitable position. So I'm trying to cross and get the arm, which is at hip level, and I block his arm with my forearm. I open my guard, both feet on the ground. I put my hand behind me, which makes it very difficult for him to defend himself once I manage to stabilize my arm behind me. I lift my pelvis, and I go back on the side and end up in a full mount position. Three-pair reversal. The adversary is standing in the open guard. This kind of sweep is to be used when the adversary is really stopped in his open guard, or is pulling you backwards to move out of the hooks. Here's what I'm going to do. First, my hands on his sleeves and my feet on the hips. I'm going to grip behind the heel. With my right arm on the side of the arm, I let go. I don't grip his pants, and I'd rather grip his heel. I release the leg on the same side, and I sweep the other leg by pushing my adversary back and pulling his arm. I lift myself up to get above him in half-guard position. Triangle.
I'm now going to show you the triangle from the open guard, when the adversary has one hand on my hip. Not really a technical position for him. He bends over and might fall in my triangle. So I'm trying to unbalance him by pulling his elbow to make him let go. At the same moment, I lift my hips, slide my leg behind his head. That way his head and his arm are stuck. Before I tighten the triangle, I have to tighten his arm, so I grip his wrist, and by pushing his elbow, I'm going to push him completely on the other side. With the other hand, I'm going to grip the tibia, opening my guard. My foot is on his hips. I move my hips to improve my attack angle. My foot in the triangle has to be flexed in order not to hurt your ankle. When I tighten the triangle, I place both hands on his head and I pull in my direction until submission. Getting out of a triangle with the foot under your adversary's armpit. When I'm in the triangle, I mustn't let him cross on the other side, so I put my hands palm to palm. I try to be in a right posture and I grip his pants with my hand to prevent him from throwing my arm on the other side. With my other hand, I grip his wrist and I'm going to try to get his leg on the same side under my armpit, trying to block his arm, making him let go. Immediately, I cross the same leg over his chest and I block him with my hand to prevent him from getting his leg back. At that moment, I grip his arm again. I twist it. I twist it until I can lever to get out, and I keep on holding his arm until I manage to get out. Ankle lock. I'm now going to show you an ankle lock from the standing position when you're trying to pass the guard and your adversary has both feet on your hips. First, I make him release the hold. I roll up my leg around his ankle. With my other hand, I get his tibia and I grip my own wrist, monkey hand style. So I sit down and block his leg between my legs and I tighten the knee. I'm going to fall next to the leg I'm attacking on the outside. If I fall on the other side, I might be disqualified. It's a dangerous position, so I really have to fall on that side. I can't cross my leg above his leg like this. It's a position that can also disqualify you in a BJJ competition because it's a very dangerous one. Both knees put a pressure on the adversary's leg. I end up by bridging and put the pressure on his ankle. Getting out of an ankle lock. I'm now going to show you how to get out of an ankle lock. It has to be quick, before it starts putting pressure on your ankle, because that pressure causes an important lesion on the foot ligament. First thing I'm going to do is to grip his collar with my hand on the same side my leg is attacked. I'm going to block him, then I'm going to pull the boot on, as they say in BJJ. I pull the boot on, that is to say, I try to push with my foot as hard as I can, to block his foot with my hand and sit on it. I sit on his foot, and I open my other leg. I put my knee on the ground and I pass the full mount. Rear neck choke with submission. Mata Leon choke, lion killer. I'm now going to show you a rear neck attack called Mata Leon choke, a very famous one in BJJ. I'm now behind my adversary. I should never cross the feet, otherwise he'll try an ankle lock. When I'm behind him, I have to put at least one of my hands under his armpit. So I controlled him and I'm going to grip his collar. I roll up my arm until my elbow is right under his chin. That way I can put more pressure. I stretch my other arm and I grip my own biceps with the hand which is strangling him. The other hand, palm in my direction, I slide behind the head and I put pressure by sticking my head against his until submission. avoid submission, collar choke. We are now going to show you a rear neck choke by using the adversary's collars. My hooks are a well-positioned one hand above the other underneath. To make it easier, I open the kimono with one hand and I can go in with the other. With the other hand, I grip the other collar slightly lower. On the side, I'm attacking. I make him fall and I pull back my adversary with my back and my arm, while my other hand is pulling the collar in the reverse position to lever him until submission. Rear neck choke with finalization. Choke hold with the hand behind the adversary's head. The rear neck choke I'm going to show you now is a very powerful one. When the adversary doesn't pay attention to his arm, I'm going to slide my hand under his arm. It looks like Matalian choke. The important detail of that position is that your arm never stops sliding behind the head. It keeps going, and the more you roll it, the tighter the choke hold is. I grip the collar, I open my arm, I slide my hand behind his head, palm in my direction, I make him fall on the side, and while I'm pulling his collar, my hand behind his head keeps on tightening until submission. So we've been showing you basic techniques. I hope you'll be successful when practicing them. Try to use these techniques. They are basic but very efficient. Very important if you want to learn Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I would like to thank Alexei, who came to help us today. See you soon in the Advanced Techniques DVDs and also in the Standing Position DVDs. Thank you very much indeed, and see you soon.
Até a próxima. Break it down.
Vamos mostrar agora o Kushikitaoshi, o Ippon Seu Inagi, o Tomo Inagi, o Osotogari, o Ogoshi, uma variação do Kataguruma, o Kouchi Makikomi, o Passapé, o Tomo Kondo de Bisuga técnica.